So that's where the idea of B and even C came
Makes
in.
sense.
And you could compete at Tournament of Champions, which is your playdowns, if you recall, and even move on to All Ontario, B, C, D, you know, meeting the teams from, say, like Powassan, or teams from Manitoulin, or Elliott Lake, or Smooth Rock Falls.
They actually used to call those House League rep teams, didn't we? The
Yeah.
all-star teams?
Yeah, selects.
The selects, yeah,
Right.
House League select team.
NCHA, 10, 15 years ago, put a stop to the select teams. It felt that, you know,
Put them together for a tournament,
yeah,
things like that.
remember that? Yeah, that's no longer.
But that would make sense, because then you've got the House League kids who want to stay in that, or parents who want to stay in that competitive level, and
Right.
traveling, they can get that.
Now, for us to really adopt a B program in this area, we'd really have to sit down with Coppercliff, with Sudbury, and even some of the outlying areas like Elliott Lake and Manitoulin, Line River, and say, all right, we want to go ahead with the B and C program, but we need to have teams to compete with. We could ice a B Bantam team, we could ice a B novice team, but they're gonna be playing against A teams.
Could you ice 2B team?
If we had the numbers, we could certainly.
So you're really, it's almost moving to a point of one association covering everybody, and when you get to B, C, and D, they're really House League level.
Right,
But
You're right.
you've got,
but we need teams to play against.
yeah.
I mean, it's
As
fine for us
opposed-
to say, okay, because we had talked about, our team model actually shows, you know, lists B, Pee Wee teams, and a P, and a B, Adam team, I believe it was. You know, we could still go ahead and do that, but the thinking is, the mentality of some of the parents out there, people are, I don't wanna spend all that money to play on a house league traveling team, really.
Right.
But if it was done properly, and we brought in the likes of, you know, the Powassans and the French Rivers and, you know, some of the outlying areas like I mentioned before, and have a B division and a C division within Nickel District, then it could work. But there's gonna be a little bit of work that will have to be done before
Yeah, and
we get to that.
that's not a big priority right now for you.
No, definitely, to be honest, like, a priority is to work on our minor midget program for next year, and to get AAA status, getting that minor Pee Wee, AAA, and the minor Bantam AAA leagues off the ground, which I'm hearing that, you know, both North Bay and the Sioux want it as much as we do for development of our kids again. So that, because what happens is, you know, and even if we turn back time a little bit, before the inception of the Pee Wee League, and before Nickel City Suns came about, we release our kids to Sudbury as a minor year, and then they come back in their major year. And, you know, same thing with Bantam, so if they can't make the major Bantam as a minor player, we'd release them to Sudbury. They take some of them, the rest would go to an A or AA club. So it really affected our A program in each association. So with now having like the AAA down to A at all levels, it allows us to, again, as I mentioned before, the affiliation piece, which is very important. You talk to any coach, if he's got 4 or 5 kids that are injured, suspended, etc., or sick, you can call to that A team. In this case here, the major Pee Wees go down to the minors. But if they were out of town or they were short themselves, at least they had a host of other clubs to draw from in the association.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. The two questions. Let's ask the first one. Is the Greater Sudbury area able to ice 2 competitive AAA clubs?
It's $1 million question.
I know.
In my opinion,
do you see us operating in 2 separate systems as opposed to 1?
I would say that, you know, obviously if you had 1 AAA all the way down, I mean, sure, we'd be competitive, but I think that we need to have, I think we need to have our kids play at the AAA level at the Pee Wee and Bantam age 2, right? And having said that, if we had a really strong minor midget program You know, I could see, say, we could ice the major midget 1 year, Sudbury could ice it, and we just do the same thing with the minors. You know, I mean, that could happen. The trouble with that is that, let's face it, it would hurt the Great North Midget League and the Great North Battle League, guaranteed. So if we fall back to one club now for the whole greater city, we'd have an amazing team, we'd have an amazing program at every level, AAA level, but, you know, we'd probably have to go down south for competition.
Is Sudbury in danger, the Sudbury or the North, is the North in, I shouldn't say danger, at risk of a private club coming in and signing the AAA?
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
But
it seemed to be brought up during the, by the Hockey
Summit.
Canada people at the summit, that if you don't, and I think it came around the open boundaries. That
Yes.
Like, we might, possibly we can talk about both at the same time. Would open boundaries be something that people in Sudbury would welcome? And by Sudbury, I mean both you and Sudbury Minor.
no, if you look at what we've just done in the district, we've just opened up
It's pretty close.
District 2.
You've opened up the district.
We've opened up the district from Coniston, Kirwan.
What about open boundaries in
Well,
Sudbury?
you know, again, that would mean that Sudbury Commonwealth would have to join up with Nickel City, play under one governing body.
Is that the way they were talking about open boundaries?
Yes.
Like my understanding at the, my understanding was that open boundaries meant you could play for any association and any team you wanted in Ontario. Basically, you could just move. You'd be trying out, you could live in the valley and decide which team you wanted to try out for.
Yes. Essentially, that's what they were speaking about.
It would
What
be,
we would prefer doing is open up the boundary, but under one association, if it came to that.
so then you would look at Sudbury, Nickel
As a
City
whole.
as a whole, one organization.
Yes.
Then it's
Yes.
open.
Then it's wide open.
You don't even have to have permission to do it, it's wide open, because that's your association.
That's your association.
But if it was open the way it is now, it would be quite an interesting competition for the players.
Well, if you look at the numbers we have, we'll probably have, we've got the lion's share of players in the greater city of Sudbury now.
Do you have the best looking jackets?
Basketball and logo. I think the logos.
I really think it comes down to that, isn't it, when you open up the boundaries? Who can offer the most to the players?
I know.
Like if your uncle is a scout for a junior A team, then you have an advantage over a team that doesn't have a
Or, you
connection.
know, a major corporation deciding
You
to
know,
sponsor
you get
any
to-
given
you
association,
fly.
and you get your,
I don't
gloves and sticks and skates every year. I mean, if it came down to that, obviously, you know, and that's happened in the past year.
That has to be a fear, isn't it? Like, it's not just open so people can go wherever, they've got the freedom of movement, it's how do you prevent this kind of competition where it's financial?
If that was to happen though, if you open it like that, it would not be good for this area. And the reason I say that is that if you look at what we're trying to do with a AAA, AA, single A program, you could circumvent this easily enough by saying, okay, we're gonna go play for so-and-so coach out in Coppercliff. The top AA kids will all get together and say, we're going to play in that area, because you're right, we got corporate sponsor there, we're gonna get, you know, jackets and sticks and skates, and now we've got an 18-year, can't compete with them, or vice versa. They're stacking into A team, and the AA can't beat them. You're defeating the purpose of trying to have, rather than having the right talent, the same talent on any given team. Now you're stacking a team. You're gonna have select teams and play at all kinds of levels where they shouldn't. So
It was quite a conversation at the summit, just when the whole discussion came up, and you could see there were an awful lot of people that, you know, would not want to see the boundaries open up. And not just because that they were afraid of losing players, they could gain players, it's just, wow, now you're really getting into a marketing and
Yeah.
a competition
Oh,
level.
yeah. Oh,
that
for sure.
You're not talking about player development now, you're
No.
talking about.
I think as long as people respected the team model, which you're trying to achieve, I'm okay, I'm on board with the open boundaries. Because, like I said, the NCHA Board of Directors gave us the green light in January. They were fully on board with the open borders in District 2. Because now, year to year, if a player wanted to play, say Nickel Center, resided Rayside, they needed a release. It just alleviated all of that paperwork for us and for the NCHA now. Moving forward, as long as you live in District 2,
District 2,
you can
yeah.
play anywhere you want.
Yeah. Where it gets into trouble is boundaries between districts.
Yeah.
Open boundaries between districts.
Yeah, right. It gets tricky there.
I don't think we have to worry about it for a while. I don't think the will is there at Hockey Canada to allow.
I think they want to see it happen sooner rather than later. I give it 2 years and you'll see open borders.
So they'll give permission to.
Yeah, that's
Because
correct.
You still have to.
Correct. The
approve at a
NCHA
local
still
level.
needs to, I think the NCHA will,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised, like, how many headaches it avoids, these releases. I mean,
Oh,
you know, we got
yeah, I know.
a kid that shows up on an ice and he's from wherever, well, no, he should be reporting to Sudbury, not to Nickel City or vice versa, and then you get into
No,
those discussions and why. Kid should be able to play where he or she wants, in my opinion.
No, we had I mean, even within the associations, I remember when my youngest son played, he was playing at the AAA level. And he could have played for the AAA minor Kiwis, I think it was. And I was coaching the major Kiwis in the Valley. Or I think it was one of those, maybe I was coaching the Major Adam. And he was Major Adam level, and there was question as to whether they were gonna allow him to play on my team because he had to be released from his age group. And I told them, well, if he doesn't play on my team, I'm going to Sudbury to play on the AAA. I won't coach.
Right,
But he'll be playing on the AAA, and he'll be playing against the team I would have coached.
right.
So it was, you know, it got down to, okay, we're gonna lose him or we're gonna keep him.
Right.
Because I was gonna keep him to play on my team, because he was gonna play against him in the league, and it wasn't.
Right. And unfortunately, you know, the politics come into play at even that young age, and really
I know.
shouldn't.
I know.
It really shouldn't.
It was just,
It shouldn't.
I know. So there's a lot of it, but this is, it's interesting. It looks like it's been well thought out. It should work.
It should work.
Now, at the house league level, they're still playing within their own community, and they're playing in a regional
Right,
house league
right.
for the most part.
That's right. And,
That would be different.
now without the body contact, they used to offer both options. The house league players, whether they play in a body checking
Right.
league or not. Now, obviously, they've removed body checking completely.
And at what level does body checking get allowed at the rep level?
Right now, it's Pee Wee, but I could see Hockey Canada stepping in and eliminating body checking at even Pee Wee age.
Really? At a rep?
I could see it. It may not affect AAA, but I really think that the AAA level, I think they're looking at removing it.
So at some point, a person has to be able to play at a level where there's body checking. In your opinion, because you've been around hockey an awful long time, and I have my own opinion about this, but do you think it's a disadvantage not to be familiar with body checking and then jump into body checking?
I think, you know, my youngest played both house league and rep hockey, just alternated year to year, and his choice. And I really don't see the need for body checking at the house league level. I really don't.
It
It's house league.
doesn't hurt you when you jump up to the rep?
Having said that, for the one or two players or three or four players that might eventually play rep hockey down the road, I think that's where it hurts you. And it's gonna hurt some kids. It's gonna be hard for us to bring kids up to the rep level. Now, if they've always played house league, I'm talking about kids that, let's start this year, for example, a novice age player playing house league now, 5 or 6 years from now when he's Pee-wee age, Madam age, like, can he make the jump? Can he make the transition?
There wouldn't be much chance of making the jump once you get into Pee-wee and Bantam, would there?
Well, there is actually, because if you look at numbers, kids, like, the numbers start decreasing at Pee-wee age. Kids don't make the AAA club or the AAA status. A lot of them will just rather go and just play house league, and it's even more so at the Madam and midget level where high school kicks in.
And I think you're going to see more of it with no body checking. I think you're going to see more players by the time they get to first year midget and they're not on the AAA club saying, I want to play hockey, why not go and play house league where I don't have to worry about getting
and then you'll have those kids, I think, that'll say, I've always played body contact, I can't see myself playing house league and not being able to throw the body around.
And you're going to be sitting a lot.
Right.
No, it's
I think
it's going to be interesting to see what happens the next few years, because I think it's a good move.
Me too.
All my sons, well, they referee 200 games a year, but they all stopped playing competitive hockey when they entered high school, which was at the end of June.
Right.
Now, if they had house league and it was true house league, it wasn't traveling to 7 tournaments a year, they probably would have played once a week. Once or twice a week with their buddies and enjoyed playing the game without having to worry about getting hurt.
It's true.
Just for recreation.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm anxious to see whether the numbers start to swell a bit. And especially if the high school, because they can play high school now.
The thing about high school, it's really tough as a freshman to make that high school team.
Second,
right?
Like a third or fourth.
So I think those kids are still going to want to play up hockey. But depending on the schools, depending on the talent that's there, depending on, because there are some schools obviously that have competitive clubs compared to others, smaller schools, whatever, fewer numbers to draw from. I think those competitive teams, I think at that level, I think in those situations, I think you'll see, and again, that's just my own opinion, I think you'll see more kids those kids go play at the Madam rep level or minor midget rep level. And because they can't make that team, but and maybe in situations, the smaller schools, and the guys will say, well, looks like we're going to fold a team, or maybe it won't be that competitive. Let's just go play rep hockey. So
it's going to be really a tough call then for coaches to be pulling players up if they have to pull players from house league that haven't had body checking to play on a AA Bantam team.
Well, in our district, we won't have that opportunity, unfortunately, because we don't have the affiliation.
Right.
But you're right, in Sudbury Government, what they can, it's going to be tough. Not bad right now, right? Because they've always played body contact for the most part. But give it 4 or 5 years from now, and a kid can finally, because some kids develop late.
Yeah.
Maybe finally, there's interest. Maybe they start, doing some power skating. They go to some hockey schools, and finally the kids at the Pee-wee or Madam age. You can be very competitive on an A or AA team, but he's never played body contact.
He's just not used to checking around to see what's coming out.
Right, body contact, body checking. It's called body checking. That's really what we're discussing here.
If it's called properly, it's easy because with a body check, it's the defensive player that's moving into the offensive player, so the offensive player can get caught.
Right.
With a body contact, it's supposed to be the offensive player that's doing the moving into the defensive player. So I mean, if you're not used to having to watch for someone coming at you, if you're making the contact, well, at least you should be seeing where you're going. You can't be run into. You can run into somebody else. So now it's just, if it's called right.
If it's called properly, you're absolutely right.